All right, America, it's time for the Ringside Wranglers Wrestling Report with your hosts, Has-Been and Jack Jaw.
What's up, wrestling fans? Guess what? I'm back. I'm Jack Jaw. This is the Ringside Wrangler Wrestling Report. Weekly, we cover news from the WWE, the AEW. Sometimes we hit on NWA, sometimes we hit on Impact, but we always hit on Indies. I'm here with my co-host, Has-Been. What's going on, Has-Been?
It's good to be back. It looks like everything's starting to somewhat get back to normal. You know, I just got off the phone with Ed Leslie, aka Brutus the Barber. Gave me a nice little haircut, so I think we're ready to roll now. Everything's back to normal. Yeah, let's go
awesome.
for
We're
it.
ready to roll tonight. We got AEW's pay-per-view Double or Nothing, but first and foremost, we're going to hit our weekly guests. This week, we've got somebody from the indie world, from Pineapple Jack, from WCWA Arkansas. Slip up there, Pineapple. I apologize for that. This guy's
That's
been
all right.
training at Striker Training Facility. We love bringing in guests from the indie world to talk what's going on. So have at it. Tell us what's going on, Pineapple.
What's up, guys? And I just want to make this clear. I am the original Pineapple Man of the wrestling world, Pineapple Pete. I guess he kind of saw what I had going and thought, hey, I might roll with this. But it's good to be here, guys. We're just now getting back to training. A few weeks ago, getting all that ring rust off. Hope to be hitting the ring soon and be performing for all the fans out there.
Awesome. We're so stoked for the indie stuff to come back online down south, and we're following you, WCWA. We're covering a bunch of them across the United States, and it looks like everybody's getting ready to get going again. I mean, we're ready even for the smallest shows. So at this point, I always turn it over to Has-Been because he's got the background to talk the language and talk the questions. So hit it, Has-Been.
Well, Zach, again, thanks for coming on the program. Just to give you a little idea, we're just really big wrestling fans in the Baton Rouge area. I have a degree in journalism, so at one point several years ago, back in the day, I did a wrestling radio talk show for the local radio station I work for, and the local newspaper had hotline reports. So this is well before the social media hit. Way back in the day, goes to show you how old I am. That's why I'm called Has-Been. But we had a lot of fun with it, so we really enjoy talking to the independent guys. So first of all, welcome and thank you for coming on the program. And Jack and I were joking last week when we knew you were going to be on this week. We were joking, how soon is it going to be before we slip up and say Pete instead of Jack? But you made that perfectly clear. We know who the real Pineapple is.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, give us a little rundown on who is Pineapple Jack, how you get started, and who your influences are, and things of that sort.
So about a year ago, actually 3 days ago I made the decision to start training. I had previously started trying to pursue a career in music, and that just didn't work out. I had lost my passion for it. And we had these local wrestling shows pop up, WCWA, every month at the town center. I went to almost every show, and they would always been pushing, hey, we got the school, Striker Training Facility, get trained by the Standard Dusty Gold. He's like our hometown hero. And so I was like, hey, I'll give this a shot. I ain't got much going on. And I just fell in love with it. I've been a wrestling fan for years. Wrestling's just always been a part of my life. It's been my one true love, And so, yeah, I've been doing this for about a year, and then I make my debut in January. And I came up with the whole pineapple gimmick because I am a Rastafari, and so I was trying to think of a way I can incorporate my personality into a wrestling gimmick. And I'd always put my hair up in a pineapple, as you can see I come to the ring with. And so I was thinking, okay, pineapples, there's something to work with there. And, I was just brainstorming one night, and boom, Pineapple Jack was born.
Awesome. That was one of the first things I noticed when I saw you. It makes perfect sense just with the way that your hairstyle is perfect. One of the things that there's a great picture right there. Kind of got that Kofi Kingston thing going a little bit. I'm wearing my St. Lucia shirt. I'm kind of trying to fit in myself. We're really big fans of obviously WWE Network. We're not going to, we're not under Mr. McMahon's payroll, so we certainly don't plug the address and then the price and everything. But one of the things we really enjoy is the fact that Mr. McMahon obviously has purchased all of the older wrestling, and with me being my Has-Been gimmick, I'll go back to the days of the 80s, NWA, WCW, world class and all the ones at Arkansas and Memphis and wrestling and things of that sort. Have you ever had a chance to look at some of those matches of old and maybe
Oh yeah.
learn some things from that? How do you think it's different back then to where it is now?
Back then to now, I mean, you watch an old match and it actually looks like a competition. Like, these guys are actually, wrestling. Because, nowadays it's like spot after spot after spot, high flying moves just all over the place. And you go back, there was a lot more psychology back in the day. And, it's just a lot more believable, a lot more selling. So a lot of guys just forget to sell, and wrestling is just it's just changed over the years. And me personally, I prefer the old school stuff. My all-time favorite, Macho Man Randy Savage. I've been going back watching a lot of his stuff, a lot of Owen Hart, Mr. Perfect. Those are some big names that are some of my favorite. But yeah, I prefer the old school over the new school. I've gone back on the network and watched 1993, and I'm almost at 2000 on the old school Raws and SmackDowns, watching every single episode. And sometimes I just get caught up watching that episode after episode more than I actually watch the newer stuff.
So would you agree with me that watching that older material is helping you right now? And if anyone wanted to get in the business, it would certainly help them to be where they want to be. Because you made a very good point. I mean, when we watch the stuff of old, you have the Anderson brothers, Orn and Gene, and Ole. They'll go in there, take the one body part, render it useless, things of that sort. But now, obviously, you can't do that because of TV time, and you've got certain TV segments and everything that lives and dies by the clock. I understand that. But I think you made a good point when you said that you can learn some styles from back 20, 30 years ago. You can still put that into your repertoire. Would you agree with my saying that would help yourself and as well as others that want to progress in this business as we go on?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I even took something like that. I took seeing Macho Man's old matches, he would do the airplane spin. And so I have incorporated that in my gimmick because you don't see too many people doing airplane spin anymore. So it's you want to be different than everyone else, with everyone just doing topes, suicidas, flips, and all this. If you just slow it down, you don't have to take nearly as many bumps, and you can expand your career. Less is more. So yeah, and there's a lot of moves out there that no one are really doing anymore. So you can definitely learn from these older guys.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Randy Savage. I've seen Bailey. I've seen Kari Singh. And they'll do that top rope elbow drop. Now, it won't be like Randy Savage did it, but it was their own style, and they put their own flair to it, which is great. You talked about how people get really crazy and they do all these wild moves and all. I actually sent a to Jack the night before where on the AEW show, Wednesday night, there is a series of some injuries that happened at that show that may affect the program tonight of the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, and a lot of that was because of this high flying thing with nobody being in the arena now. A lot of these wrestlers feel, for whatever reason, that they can't get that pop that they're desiring to get, so they got to go out there and just do this wild stuff that they may not have done before, and they put themselves at risk. And I know a lot of these podcasts, other than ours, that talk about WWE and AEW wrestling have been ripping these guys for wrestling working so recklessly, if you will. Do you think that you have to get that wild style? Because like we said, we watch stuff from the 80s and 90s. You really won't see all that stuff. Now, I know times change and you got to get with the culture, and I totally agree with you on that sort. But you made a great comment when you said less is more. How do you think, well, first of all, do you use that in your style? And if you do or you don't, do you think it's worth to do all this stuff right now just to try and get the fans to not forget who you are? Because with the fans not being there, it's kind of like whenever you were hurt, you got ring rust and you're away from the television, but you don't have those fans there. And a lot of Daniel Bryan does a yes. There's nobody to feed on. So they do this wild, reckless wrestling. And this is, of course, our opinion saying that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's just different audiences out there. I mean, of course, you do have the wrestling audiences that they love that fast-paced, action-packed matches. But then you do have the people that do appreciate the old school, and the people that, if you just that want to see just emotion and a good storytelling in a match. And you can give me a match that tells a great story any day, and I'd watch that compared to, say, like a Young Bucks match or one of those guys. But yeah. And like if you take like Orange Cassidy nowadays, he's got a great gimmick and he's getting his character over, and he's not having to do a whole lot, and he's over as hell with the audience. They love him, and all he does just hands in his pocket, just acting like a sloth. And but you can see eventually he does pick up the pace and he can go, but he takes it where he's super, super slow, and then he just gradually picks it up.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. So I tell you what, one thing I would be most worried about new in wrestling is taking on those big guys. When I saw your podcast the other night and I saw that big guy that was sitting next to you, can you imagine working something with that guy? I mean, that would just be painful. I would be so timid. I would be like, I'm going to get squashed. I don't know how these little guys, when you see Rey Mysterio take on somebody that's like 3 times his size, you're just going, how do they do this?
Yeah. It all just depends on the worker. Like, so, because that's our co-trainer, Knuckles Matson, former NXT superstar, and he was the guy in Xavier Woods' video that he had posted recently. He went by Knuckles the Clown because he had tagged with Matt Bourne, Doink the Clown, so he had kind of paid tribute to him with that clown gimmick. But anyways, yeah, I work with him all the time in practice, and he can get a little stiff every now and then. Like the other day we were working, and he had give me a drop kick, and he got me right in the face. And I was like, oh man, he really got me on that one. And but yeah, he takes care of me pretty good. It just depends on the worker if he's gonna really take care of you, or if he's just really gonna lay it in like really hard.
Yes, no doubt. You definitely hear the stiff wrestlers. You hear the persona that they carry around. This guy's stiff, avoid him. We don't need to go down that road and naming all who those people are, but you can see the injuries they leave in their wake.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, coming up, who is like your dream match right now? In the next year, who would you like to name a character in WCWA or somebody that you're hoping to get some action with?
Just like anybody currently. WCWA wise, I would really love to go up against the Magnificent Malico. He's a clown, and he's also got dreadlocks too, but he's really entertaining and really fun to watch. But on like if I was to go up against anyone like WWE, AEW, right now I would love to go up against Pineapple Pete, just for a battle of the pineapples.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be cool. So do you guys have any dates? Are they talking about any dates coming up?
Actually tonight, there's a match going on. It is the Magnificent Malico going one-on-one against Damian Wayne. It's going to be a live stream. It's $8 to view it, and it's going to be no crowd. But that's our first, I guess, show you can call it that we're doing since coming back. Because like I said, 2 weeks ago we just started training back up, and now we're trying to get back into motion, having shows. So we're gonna have this tonight, and then hopefully we can have an actual show with the audience soon. I know he was talking about having a reduced crowd, like put a limit on how many people can be there and space everyone out with the whole pandemic that's going on.
Right. So is that something that fans could find that on the WCWA Facebook page, or how to get that?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. WCWA on Facebook, and also WCWAwrestling.com. So I believe it's the website you'll go to view the match tonight, and also get tickets for any future events that we have.
And what's that? Is it a full card, or is it just one match?
I think it's just one match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, maybe if this goes on much longer, maybe you could be on one of those matches.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to following your career. Any other thing you want to talk about? Anything you else want to push in your career? What's going on?
I just want to push my YouTube. I've been putting some promos and all my matches on there. So if you want to see anything Pineapple Jack, just head on over to YouTube. Just look up Pineapple Jack on there. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Pineapple Jack, DA Pineapple Jack. And also got my Pro Wrestling Tees shop. You can get your Pineapple Jack merch on there. ProWrestlingTees.com/Pineapple Jack. And yeah, just keep your eyes out because I'm coming to provide some vitamin C to the world of wrestling.
Nice. I think I saw a sale going on at that Pro Wrestling Tee thing this weekend. So,
Memorial Day sale. Mm-hmm. You can get 20% off your entire order.
Nice. Well, we'll definitely be following you, and if we look for us, comment put us some comments in your messenger about what information you'd like us to share or tag in the video. We'll definitely do that, and we'll definitely tag WCWA and put a little note about Stryker Training Facility. Thanks for coming on. Any final comments, Has-Been? Yeah, he's lagging. He's lagging a little bit. But either way, thanks for coming on, Pineapple. We really appreciate you coming on. And like I said, we're going to be following your career and just putting some stuff out there about you. So like and follow us as well. Nice. Have a nice weekend. And hopefully if you watch the AEW show tonight, it's going to be good. I'm thinking something crazy going to go down. I'm thinking another Vince McMahon. Oh my God, they left my organization is going to happen tonight. I'm not sure if it's going to be Sting or who it'll be, but it ought to be crazy.
Yeah, I'll be watching. It's going to be a good one.
All right, man. Thanks again for coming. We'll talk to you
on the flip side. All right. You guys have a good one.
And Zach, thank you for coming on. If any of your colleagues would like to come on this program, and certainly if you'd like to come back on again, we'd love to have you because as Jack Jaw mentioned, we're
I'll definitely shoot them your way. You can have them on. My trainer, Dusty Gold, would probably love to be on here. He's a very, very talented athlete and professional wrestler.
Cool. We'll look into him and we'll shoot him a message, see what's going up.
All right.
All right. See you later, man. Thanks again.
All right. See ya.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right. So who we got? Are you good? Are you good, Has-Been? Can you hear me? Maybe. Check 1, 2. Okay, we're going to go on with the news. Top of the news. Every week, we cover.
Thank you, Jack.
All right, we cover the WWE. We cover AEW. We always cover independents. So this week, we're going to start with the Raw rundown, the full WWE rundown from Raw, NXT, down to SmackDown. This week, you're coming out of a week plus out from Money in the Bank. Everybody's wondering how they're going to be pushing Otis. Him carrying around the Money in the Bank. What's going to happen with him? So we'll start that off. Top of the show this week, you got Edge, who was called out last week by Randy Orton. Edge says you're not going to get away with just throwing that out there that you want to wrestle. So Edge has started this week. He accepts. So at the Backlash pay-per-view, you got Edge and Randy Orton.
I can hear you.
That ought to be good. Next up, you had Murphy.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
We're good. I can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, you got Murphy taking on Humberto Carrillo. Murphy gets the win. You've got the Monday Night Messiah out there pushing him. Then you have Charlotte Flair, who's working double time. She's showing up all over the place on all the WWE cards. She takes out Ruby Riott via submission in a non-title match. Look for the Bayley match. They're going to be building some stuff there. That happens later in the week on SmackDown. Then you have MVP. MVP, I'm not a big fan of the MVP show, but I am a good fan of MVP pushing angles, and he's got this thing tentatively going with Bobby Lashley. He kind of throws Bobby Lashley under the bus saying, what are you going to do? Continue to fight R-Truth and people like that, or you want to be fighting for the titles? Well, sure enough, Bobby Lashley says, guess what? I'm just going to go after R-Truth. And, of course, he takes out R-Truth. Easy match via submission. Right. Next up, women's tag team match. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, the champions, defending against my favorite, I'm just kidding, the Iconics. The champions get the win there via disqualification. What do you think of that match, Has-Been? Yeah. That's some good. I can hear you. It's pretty loud. Either way, on to Osaka. Osaka's talking her. She's still running around talking her championship stuff. And guess what? It gets rudely interrupted. She's out there with her person and Kairi Sane. And out comes Nia Jax to ruin the party. and she says, "Guess what? Nia Jax is coming for your title, so enjoy it while it lasts, Osaka, because Nia Jax is going to take you out." Next up, Shayna Baszler versus Natalya in a submission match. I mean, are you serious? You've got somebody coming from the Octagon UFC. Of course, Shayna Baszler gets the win there. Then, surprise, he's been gone since WrestleMania. Kevin Owens shows up to a big pop. He's out there talking smack against Selena Vega's team, and then he teams up with Apollo Crews.
It was good, but I'm like everyone else says on the internet. I really hope that they're not teasing a breakup of Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, because it looks like they're teasing a breakup.
Yep. That ought to happen good. Next up, you've got, like I said, Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews takes out Andrade and Angel Garza. That was a pretty good match there. There they are right there. Apollo Crews coming back from his own injury. Then you had Aleister Black, none other than Selena Vega's husband. He takes out Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy's fighting 2 times this one night. I guess they were limited. Somebody didn't show up for the card or something. So Aleister Black gets the win there via disqualification. Then the headliner of the show, you got Drew McIntyre. Of course, Drew McIntyre fighting for the defend his championship as the main event on Raw. He takes out King Corbin with a Claymore kick. Either way, that was a very good match. I just wished it was under different circumstances that Drew McIntyre was defending his title, because he is a legitimate champion. This week, we also had some sad news. Shad Gaspard, formerly from Crime Time, also known as The Beast, unfortunately passed away in a beach accident. Rest in peace, Shad Gaspard. Great wrestler, too early to be gone. Next up, NXT. There he is right there with his Crime Time team member. Very sad news this week. NXT this week. We don't cover the NXT in deep, but we do like to cover, what's going on there, the big names that are coming up, and because possibly you can identify some people that are going to be coming up from the ranks. Yeah. You got Karrion Kross taking out Scarlett. Karrion Kross with Scarlett taking out Liam Gray. That was a good match. And then you're trying to wonder what's going to happen with Karrion Kross. Is he going to take on somebody? Who's going to be his first opponent? Looks like it's Tommaso Ciampa. He's out there to introduce himself, and the two introduced in the middle of the ring right there. So that right there looks to be a good angle to come in NXT. Next up, you had El Hijo del Fantasma over Akira Tozawa. Akira Tozawa, great performer week after week. He's not always getting the upper hand, but Del Fantasma gets the win there. Then you had Mia Yim over Santana Garrett. That was a pretty good match as well. Then you had Roderick Strong over Dexter Lumis. Pretty good match there for NXT standards. Then the tag teams, Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch over the Ever Rise. Ever Rise made a debut a couple weeks ago on Raw. Back down to NXT. They're on the short end of the stick there. Then you had Drake Maverick, one time let go. He's back. He gets the win over Kushida. And then in the main event, a women's main event match on NXT, Io Shirai over Rhea Ripley after interference from Charlotte. Charlotte out there, you think she's going to help Rhea Ripley's opponent. Not only does she help her win, but she also takes her out and then takes out Rhea Ripley as well, leaves them both laying in the ring. So Charlotte Flair is all over the place this week. I think she wrestled on all 3 venues.
All right. Charlotte Flair, obviously, to me, with Becky Lynch leaving to become a mom, this is Charlotte Flair's best opportunity. Because right now, it's no secret she's on all 3 shows. She's on Raw, she's on NXT, she's on SmackDown. She's the cream of the crop. I mean, what Becky's doing to be a mom is great, but I kind of feel weird saying this, but it's actually benefiting Charlotte from a wrestling perspective more than it is Becky Lynch, because she's going to go be a mom with Seth Rollins, which makes perfect sense. Seth will continue to wrestle, but Charlotte right now is the she's the centerpiece. She's picking up the slack right now, and that's why she's getting airtime on Raw and NXT and SmackDown, which during this pandemic thing is just phenomenal for her. So now I understand why they put the NXT title on her, because she's going to be the go-to workhorse, if you will, horsewoman for the women's division in WWE. So she's holding her own too. Yep,
no doubt. So that was the end of the week for NXT. It built up again. She's pushing her Rhea Ripley feud. She's pushing her Bayley feud. And then come SmackDown, you'll see what happens there. On to SmackDown this week, what we just said. top of the show, you've got the Dirt Sheet, John Morrison, The Miz. Always an exciting. That's probably one of the best little skit shows that they do on any wrestling. The Dirt Sheet. They're out there talking about Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman comes out there. He's going to defend himself, and guess what? He's got a match right out the gate against The Miz. He takes out The Miz like yesterday's garbage. John Morrison wants nothing to do with that, but he says, "Hey, you want to fight us both in a handicap match at Backlash? We're in." And Braun doesn't walk away from anybody. So I don't like this so much because the last time Braun was in a handicap match for his belt, he lost it. I can't imagine The Miz and Morrison taking the belt from him. But, hey, I didn't think Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and all those guys would do it either, but they did. So what's your take on this one?
I'm hoping that Johnny Morrison is clean because if he is, I have never seen a guy in that phenomenal athletic shape in a long time. We're talking John Cena style shape. That's the look that John Morrison has right now, and I'm really hoping that he's clean with it, meaning that he's not doing the steroids or HGH or whatever, because if that's just his work ethic and his workout persona, so to speak, and looking like that, that man has got $1 million written all over him. He really impresses me with his physique.
Yep, he's got it going on. So they took the tag belts off of him. So maybe this is the angle they're going to push now. Maybe the two of them will take the SmackDown Heavyweight Championship. On to we talked a minute ago about Sami Zayn. They took the belt off of him a couple weeks ago. So now you've got the Intercontinental Championship tournament. AJ Styles taking out Shinsuke. That was a angle that was about a year or so ago. Those two were going at it. AJ Styles gets the win. Next up for him in this tournament is Elias. What you think of that one?
Corey Graves, I will give him credit, said on last night, Friday Night SmackDown, he said that he thought the winner of Nakamura and AJ Styles would win the Intercontinental Championship. I totally agree. These guys had a huge feud in Japan, as you mentioned. I know they wanted AJ Styles to win the Money in the Bank, but for whatever reason, they went with Otis. It's no secret, because we mentioned this last week. It's all over the internet that the only title that has eluded AJ Styles in his WWE career is the Intercontinental Championship. I fully expect him to win that title and cement his career as a WWE superstar, win that belt.
Yep. That was a great match. Then you had Bayley, like we said earlier, Charlotte Flair making her third show of the week. Bayley gets the win over Charlotte via rope assist pin. And then the funny thing there was they're teasing the angle that Bayley and Sasha are having a falling out because Charlotte was calling out Sasha Banks, and Sasha Banks never came out to help her. But guess what? Bayley still gets the win there over Charlotte in a non-title match.
And I thought that was great because the daughter of the dirtiest player ever in the game loses to a woman who did a dirty play, which is very unusual. And that's why Charlotte had that little grin on her face, because she knew she got duped by something that she should have done, because her father is the absolute expert and the legend who invented it and will go down in the history as being the best ever at doing it.
He's that man right there. Either way, next up you had Sonya Deville and Dolph Ziggler. They teased this match last week, and sure enough, it's going to go off this week. Sonya Deville, Dolph Ziggler versus Mandy Rose and Otis. Sonya Deville and Ziggler get the pinfall after Deville hit Rose with a knee to the back of the head. So that was a pretty good match there. I still wonder how they're going to work in the Money in the Bank thing with Otis. I think that may play out for a while, and it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of people even forget that he even has the Money in the Bank, and it plays out months from now. I can't imagine it playing out anytime soon because they have this little angle going with him and Mandy Rose. So who knows? That was a pretty decent match. And then the end of the night, SmackDown ended with another Intercontinental Championship tournament match, Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. I really thought they were building this one up to be more than just a tournament match. Jeff Hardy gets the win there. So you got Jeff Hardy taking on Daniel Bryan next week. Is that next week?
Yes.
I'm guessing it is. And then you've got AJ Styles versus Elias. So those are your final four for the Intercontinental Championship. So what do you think of that Jeff Hardy-Sheamus match?
It's funny because I watched that whole match in its entirety without fast forwarding through it. And as it got to about the 2-minute mark before the pinfall, I just something came over me, like some kind of a feeling or a guru came in my brain and said, I think they're going to put Jeff Hardy over on this match. And sure enough, they did. So I would not be surprised to see Sheamus get his receipt next week, which will cost Jeff Hardy his match.
Yeah,
And that would definitely put AJ Styles in the driver's seat, so to speak. And no disrespect to Daniel Bryan, but just where we're going right now, I really think AJ's, unless they're going to give Daniel Bryan another resurgence, I think this is AJ's belt to lose.
Yep. Either way, I thought it was overall a good week for WWE. Again, like we've been talking week after week, they're just limping along. I think these shows they're average, but hey, they're getting by. It's somewhat entertaining. Can't wait for the big fan show whenever that comes off. I'm hoping it's sooner than later. I read this week that Vince is like, come hell or high water, SummerSlam will have fans. So that's like, what is that, like 2 months away, 3 months away? I really hope he can pull that off. They're saying whatever Vince wants, he gets. And when I read that, I'm going, that's not true, because he wanted WrestleMania to have fans, and he couldn't do it. So hopefully he can catch it on the back end, because WrestleMania and SummerSlam are the WWE's biggest pay-per-views. So it would be sad if they're forced to do that one with no fans as well. Like I said, overall, pretty good week for WWE. On to AEW. This week, we got their build-up to the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. AEW is still continuing to good job. Last week, you called me out on something we've been doing week after week, and guess what? We're not going to do it anymore. So I have this one slide here just to say goodbye to the Wednesday Night War. We're not doing that anymore because it is no war for AEW to be taking out NXT. We're going to be looking for the day for AEW to take out SmackDown and Raw, and hopefully that's sooner than later, at least getting up there. So we've got two battling things, just like we did back when WCW Monday Nitro and then went back and forth. That's what we're looking forward to. So no more Wednesday Night War statistics. We don't care about that. We only care about the head-to-head organization versus organization. This week, like we said, they're going up to Double or Nothing pay-per-view. The show starts this week with the famous limo ride up. We're used to the Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the Ric Flair. Here comes in the limo. You've got the inner circle. They're just doing a great job. Great job. Great interest. What's going on there. I like the way he called him poop or something like that at the beginning. But either way, that leads up to your first match of the night. You got any comments about the way Inner Circle came in on the limo?
Yeah, it's great. And if you would have watched the special they had Friday night on TNT leading up to tonight's pay-per-view, since we're doing this on Saturday, Chris Jericho said in one of his segments that he was the very first person to come in to AEW, and he's like one of their biggest signees, probably their biggest signee so far. I mean, obviously Cody Rhodes started everything, or Cody, if you will, but yeah, I mean, Jericho was the first champion of my knowledge, and he was pretty much the stick, if you will, the benchmark to make everything happen. And once he came in, then you started having John Moxley and Matt Hardy and everyone else. But it all started with Y2J, and I totally agree. I thought he was great. Jericho is like their Flair, man. I mean, he deserves to be treated like that.
Yep. So match number one on the Dynamite show this week, you had John Moxley taking on 10. Before the match got started, you had Brody Lee coming out with his group of guys, and he's christening 10 to be the gold star of his group. So he leaves 10 out there to just completely decimated by Moxley. Moxley not only finishes him off, but then he teases Brody Lee in the back saying, hey, you better come get your guy and bring me my belt back that you stole, because I'm going to break his arm. And Brody Lee was like, guess what? I don't even care. I'm leaving. So he leaves and leave it to Moxley. He, quote unquote, breaks his arm with the chair. Pretty good moment there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just back to the days when he was with the Shield with Ambrose and not Ambrose, with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. I mean, that's how they ran roughshod back then. That's what he does.
Yep. That was a good little story there. I like the fact that they're putting the heavyweight champion on at the beginning of the show. That's just you have to wait till the end. So that was a pretty good twist there. Then I like the way that they're doing Brody Lee, how they have the little single light bulb swinging like they used to do with the Bray Wyatt family when he first came in. There's a lot of things that AEW is doing right now that I'm really surprised Mr. McMahon's not getting the reds about, so to speak, because they're coming like this whole thing with the chip, the Money in the Bank thing versus this chip, and then you've got the flashlight swinging, which was totally Bray Wyatt when he brought in
Luke Harper and Eric Rowan and of course Braun Strowman. So I mean, I'm just really surprised that Mr. McMahon rather is not getting the reds about it, but I guess he's letting him run with it.
Yep. Next up, you had MJF taking on Marco Stunt. He's the week in, week out just guy that people abuse. MJF gets him via submission. MJF, we've been talking for weeks about him. He's such a great performer. Looking forward to his match tonight. We're going to cover that card in a minute.
That guy looks like he's Angus Young of the wrestling.
There he is. I mean, I tell you what, if he can make it, I can make it. But either way, next up, you had Jake Roberts and Arn Anderson. This was just ultimate throwback. They were having this little discussion in the ring. I like the little back and forth there, kind of teasing that possibly these two guys would hook up again. But I guess it's going to be vicariously through each one of their guys. What do you think of that one?
It was great. And if I'm not mistaken, because I believe Jake said this, those two guys never did wrestle before. They never did from all their days in NWA and WCW and all that start. I mean, they never really had a chance. I mean, I know they worked together way back in the Mid-South era, but it's just Jake obviously made it big in WWE, and Orin was with the Horsemen in NWA, WCW. So to my knowledge, from what Jake said, they never had a chance to hook up one-on-one. But like you said, I mean, Orin obviously can't go because of his neck injury, and Jake, I don't think he'd want to get back in the ring anytime soon. So I agree with 100%, Jack. They're going to have to live vicariously through Cody Rhodes and through
Lance Archer,
the big man.
Yep. Next up, you had Darby Allin. A little angle with him where he's watching a video in the back. You know, just the buildup of the coming up to the Double or Nothing. So love the Darby Allin character. I don't think he has a chance tonight, but it'd be exciting to see the fact that he's in a ladder match, knowing the way.
Hey man, if they can put Otis to win the Money in the Bank as a dark horse, this is your dark horse. And you've been really, I'll give you credit, you've been really big on this guy. This is my dark horse, if you will, to win the thing tonight. If you're going to have Otis win the Money in the Bank, this should be the dark horse to win the chip.
Well, we're going to talk about that match in a little while because they do have a special mystery person that's going to be part of that. So either way, we'll talk about that in a minute. Next up, you had Finis over Orange Cassidy. That was also a pretty good match. And then you had your favorite, Britt Baker and Nyla Rose over Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. That's a build-up to tonight's match, Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose for her belt. Pretty decent match. The women's matches are getting better on AEW. Somewhat exciting. And then they announced for next week there's going to be a battle royal to determine who's going to fight the new AEW TNT champion. That's going to be decided tonight, which our man Iron Mike Tyson will be giving that belt out tonight. Next up,
as I told Pineapple Jack whenever we were doing that segment earlier, there were some injuries that occurred in the AEW show. Obviously, Dr. Baker, apparently, from what I've read through sources, has a potential torn ACL. And I mean, she could be out for 9 months or depending on how long that is. So if her match is probably not going to happen against Statlander. Of course, we'll have to see. That Lucha Libre guy that was taking on Orange Cassidy, he kind of got banged up pretty good. Apparently, they're saying he's going to be okay. And both of the Young Bucks, when they had the deal when they were on the Jaguars football field, the TB Bank Stadium, whatever it was called, the Bucks, one of the Bucks apparently broke a rib, and the other one was banged up. So there were some legitimate injuries that occurred on this show Wednesday night, which is why I was telling Pineapple Jack that there's a lot of these webcasts that we're doing, podcasts, if you will, that are they're kind of ripping WWE and AEW because these guys are working so recklessly right now, and ladies are working recklessly because there's nobody in the fans, no fans in the crowd to give them the pop that they want to get. You know, Daniel Bryan does yes, there's nobody there to yes with him. So they've got to do something to kind of make it outstanding because you're not going to have these moments where the guy opens his mouth wide whenever the Undertaker loses to Brock Lesnar and gets his undefeated streak broken at New Orleans at the Superdome. I mean, that's going to go down forever on WWE programming. You always see that guy with his mouth wide open. You don't have those moments anymore. There's no more oh my God moments because there's no fans. So they're working recklessly to try and overcome that, and they're putting themselves at risk. And some of the podcasts are kind of ripping them for it. And this could potentially affect some of the matches at the Double or Nothing show. Yep,
we'll see tonight who shows up. But as you said it, next up you had Matt Hardy in the main event over Sammy Guevara. This match was probably the best part of this match was the after the match.
Right.
Matt Hardy gets the win, and then the Elite comes out there, and they're actually battling out there on the Jaguar football field,
Right.
Taking out the Elite. Then the Elite gets going back good on their side, and they got the big Megatrons in the background. First, it had Inner Circle up there, and then when the Elite got the upper hand, then it starts showing the Elite. So there's your that's a great shot there. So that's going to be part of your Stadium Stampede match tonight. So one thing they got going for AEW is not only do they have the wrestlers that are making some noises outside the ring, but then I also think that outside little tarp covered place, that little venue that they're at, also adds to the allure. So you're still missing the fans, but you've got something going on there that's at least somewhat noisy, have some interaction with the outside world, and it's not just in an empty studio where you can hear like scan like that and stuff. So either way.
And that place is tied to the Jaguars football field. And of course, everyone knows, or you should know, that the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars is the money maker, the Ted Turner, if you will, of WCW. This guy who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars NFL team is the money maker for AEW. And it's so cool to look on the inside of the real Jacksonville Jaguars NFL football stadium. On the 50-yard line, they've got the AEW logo. In one end zone, they've got the Elite. And on the other end zone, they got the Inner Circle. And I've never seen that before. And then they're going to put this ring in the middle of that 50-yard line, which is phenomenal. That would be a venue for a WrestleMania. And they're going to have a match tonight, weather permitting. I'm assuming this was already pre-recorded, which it may have been. But, I mean, when you've got that, I mean, that's what we talked about. You got Cody, who's running everything. You've got the money, which would have been Ted Turner. But instead of having the inmates run the asylum like WCW guys were doing, you got Cody Rhodes, who is humble enough to not even give himself a title chance anymore. He's going after the TV title. So you've got a humble guy who's running everything. You got a lot of guys with deep pockets money. This is WCW's best chance to be resurrected and even be better. It's like the Bionic Man or $6 Million Man with Steve Austin. We can make them better than they ever were before. That's why I was asking that we don't compare AEW against NXT. To me, no disrespect intended. I'm just calling it like I see it. That's an insult to AEW to have to compete with NXT. Put them up against SmackDown and Raw. We'll see.
Yep, no doubt. So let's hit the pay-per-view tonight, Double or Nothing. Tonight on pay-per-view, I think it kicks off at 7 p.m. Central. There's all the wrestlers in the marquee. The Elite, like we just covered a minute ago, versus the Inner Circle in the Stadium Stampede match. I did not realize that was going to be a ring set up in the middle of that football field.
50-yard line.
That ought to be exciting.
It's 5-on-5, 50-yard line, Falls Count, anywhere within the football stadium. So I got to put my money on the Inner Circle on that one.
No doubt. Next up, you got Moxley going defending his title against Brody Lee. That's going to be good as well. I mean, every match top to bottom of this card is great to me. Then you got Cody versus Lance Archer for the TNT Championship. Iron Mike Tyson, his role is to give out the new title to the winner. Ought to be exciting there.
And probably knock somebody out like he did Shawn Michaels at when he took on Steve Austin, the Stone Cold that time. I believe it was at WrestleMania. We'll see how that works.
Then you've got the AEW Women's Championship, Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida, and a no disqualification, no count out. Everything's going on in this one. I've got to take Shida to win this one.
Absolutely.
Long overdue. Then, as we talked about earlier, you've got the casino ladder match. Your contestants or participants are Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Joey Janela, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sapien, Frankie Kazarian, Luchasaurus, and a mystery opponent. Who do you think that mystery opponent's going to be?
Well, on paper, which never works anyway, but if you're going to book it on paper, you would have to say Colt Cabana's the most talented of all that bunch, in my opinion, of course, to win that. As a dark horse, I like Darby Allin. I know you've really been big on him, and I think he'd be a great fit, kind of like the oldest pick. But this special attraction, this is the first I've heard of it. I apologize. I really haven't been keeping up with it that much from that. And that could mean a lot, depending on who that person is.
Yeah. It could be Sting. It could be Rusev. Would that be crazy?
Well, whoever it is, if that person comes in and wins the chip on their first appearance in the company, they're going to have to be somebody huge, like on a Jericho level or a Moxley level or a Matt Hardy level. So you got to think of it like that too. I mean, if this person comes in and wins that chip, that's a hell of a push that person's getting as their very first show, their first match in AEW, and they win an automatic championship match against whomever the winner will be between Brody Lee and Jon Moxley. And that means a lot. Hey, how about this? Moxley how about if Moxley ends up losing to Brody Lee because Eric Warren shows up or something like that? I could see that happening too.
That would be big.
Like,
right
yeah,
there.
you said yourself that somebody from Vince lost. It may be more than one person that Vince lost. It may be multiple people that Vince lost. And just like WCW, again, I've been really harping on this WCW being resurrected in AEW thing, going from the moneymaker with the guy who owns the Jaguars, having Cody as the lead booker and things of that sort, with the Bionic Man or $6 million man doing it right. They're bringing all these people over from WWE now, just like WCW did. I remember back in the days, every week you never knew somebody new showed up. You never knew who it was. The excitement was there. They won the ratings for 83 weeks, whatever. If they keep doing that stuff every other week, and a great time to do would be on a pay-per-view like that. You have Eric Rowan show up, you have Rusev show up. Man, people are going to start watching this program a lot more than they ever did before.
No doubt. The fallout of this show is going to be over the top. Then the three more matches real quick. You got Shawn Spears versus Dustin Rhodes. Shawn Spears, the former number 10 in WWE. I think he easily gets the win there.
Absolutely.
Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. That was announced. I'm not sure if one of those.
Yeah, well, that would have been Britt Baker against Statlander because she allegedly tore her ACL. That's why Penelope's in there.
Gotcha.
You got to go with Statlander on that.
Yep. Then you got Jungle Boy versus MJF in a casino ladder match for the AEW title shot. So
that's the blow off match of the night, and watch Jungle Boy get the upset just because I said that.
Yep. Okay, on to the independents. You know, we always cover the independents. We love the independents. You know, they're struggling, as everybody are. If they didn't have the Bucks behind them like the AEWs or the WWEs, they would be putting on some shows. We heard from Pineapple Jack earlier that he's got his organization is doing a Facebook match pay-per-view, $8 to see their show. So you got to give it to the independents that are trying to push their stuff. We always cover a certain few that we like. We like their content, so we follow them. We push them. East Coast Professional Wrestling, still no events scheduled, but keep checking their Facebook page. They've got a YouTube video they post every week. It's always good content video. Next up, you got Wrestling 225. They had a little piece this week on somebody called the Asian Cajun. He and his partner, Extian Blake, they're in the finals for the Pro Wrestling 225 Tag Championship. I mean, just you got to check these Facebook contents to see and stay engaged with what's going on, because when these guys come back online, you know, I don't want to miss a beat. I want to know what's going on, what they're pushing. The Mayor's Cup that the Wrestling 225 had announced at one point, it's kind of in limbo. So the latest updaters are still working on a date. So it's definitely not that June 20th that's listed there. They put a picture out this week of what that Mayor's Cup looks like. So that ought to be exciting when that goes off. And then at the end of the summer, they still have that match on the Pro Wrestling 225 Facebook page, the 225 Mania on August the 29th. So hopefully that gets to go off. Again, we're so excited when these guys are getting ready to come back on. It's going to be good. And then Wildcat, one of my personal local favorites. They're still pushing the content of the X-rated show. Joey Ryan, Too Cold Scorpio. That ought to be good. That's still pushing for June 29th June 27th, excuse me, in New Orleans. That ought to be exciting. Keeping our fingers crossed that can go off. And again, like always, check out Wildcat Wrestling on My 54, WUPL My 54 channel out of New Orleans. Again, good content from the indies. One of the few indies that actually has their own wrestling show on TV. So that's pretty good. That show's late Saturday night, replays on Sunday. And then also, bet you didn't know this, Wildcat has a pro wrestling school that right now they're offering a $1,000 discount, $2,800, $1,000 discount starting in June and July. You can get this discount, no experience necessary. So if you want to become a wrestler, hook them up. Wildcat Wrestling, Wildcat Wrestling out of New Orleans. They can hook you up with becoming a wrestler. Launch a new career. Who wants to say, I always wanted to be a wrestler? Here's your chance right here. $2,800. Train with the best. I'm sure Wildcat will hook you up. So that about does it for this week's show. Again, Has-Been and I are getting together to watch the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Excited about that. I really think they're going to do a good job putting it on with the limited fans or very little fans. Fans will just be the other wrestlers. So I think it's going to come off pretty good. Any of the last things you got to say has been?
Well, I have been watching ESPN, and I know they said on June 1st the NCAA was going to allow to start having their football teams to do voluntary practices. And I know the NFL was hell-bent to have the season start this fall. So the reason why I'm saying all this is I wouldn't be surprised by the end of this summer, maybe even earlier than that, they'll start having, since that's all contact sports, I say by the middle of this summer, maybe no later than the end of the summer, we'll start having wrestling shows again with fans inside. Maybe if they're limited, kind of like you're going, like I was able to get my hair cut, things like that, that wouldn't happen before. It may be limited. You have to have one button to seat every 6 feet or whatever, but I got a feeling by the end of the summertime, you'll start having fans back in the seats again.
Yeah, it's coming on. So we're excited tonight. Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Everybody, happy Memorial Day. I'm Jack Jaw with the Ringside Wrangler Wrestling Report. That has been. See you next week. Catch us on Facebook. If you want to reach out to us at ringsidewranglers@gmail.com. Like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook. We're out. Have a good weekend. AEW tonight. Jack Jaw later.
Yeah. Memorial Day. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Long live you, brother.